Hello, this is Ryan Kirkus or RC again. I'm going to do a quick video here on a Japanese naval strategy. Japan is definitely a naval power at the start, and if it wants to stay alive, it's going to continue to be a naval power. So long as it provided, it doesn't have to be only naval, but you cannot allow a blockade. Or you can own all of Russia, China, Far East Command, everything, all the Dutch East Indies, and you will get no money from it. So keep that in mind. 100% do not have that happen to you. Just a little word of note here. We have had that happen in a couple of our games. And yeah, Japan's done. You don't even have to take the island. You know, you leave them with $7. They can keep building the island, and you just blockade them, maintain the blockade, and gobble up everything else all around it. And then you know, you can just leave them unsurrendered and just owning that, trapped in their home country, building up militia for $1. So don't be the Japanese player who's stuck in that situation. All right, I'm going to quickly go over some convoys here because that's an important aspect of the Navy battle in this game. We've got the $5 home island line here. Doesn't really come into play very often. It just goes through C-Zone 54 and 38. That's it. If that's getting convoyed a lot, then either you left a giant hole in the back and you're going to fill it in and crush whatever's in there, or you're not doing so hot and you're getting hammered all the time. So keep that in mind. Now you also have this Tokyo line. It goes from here, let me move this camera back a little bit. It goes from here in Tokyo through multiple sea zones all the way down to sea zone 122, where it connects to the Indian Ocean line that the FEC, French, and Dutch have on this side, and the East Asia line that the Anzac and Dutch also have money on. So that's a key location here. They're going to want to throw a destroyer, or the enemy's probably going to want to put a convoy on there or an escort. Remember, if they're here, they can also hit this whole line. So if you got destroyers that are just chilling, doing nothing, put them on escort duty, right? Let's just take a quick example here. Just starting with the basic setup you have in the game, you can have, oh look at that, you can have 4 escorts on this line, right? Alright, where are my stuff? There we go. You have 4 escorts on the line, right? Now, with all these escorts, you got 4 shots on the enemy if they decide to convoy this line. They're not doing anything. They don't block movement in or out, right? But, you know, you're keeping your line intact. It's many a time that we've seen the Japanese player with his monster navy moving around and crushing navies, and then forgetting about the convoys and just getting hammered on the convoys and like wasting money moving around ships. You do some, I mean, this is an extreme where you got 4, right? But you can easily put 1 here and 1 there. That's 2 on the line. That's plenty. But, you know, with 4, they're less likely to come on because all 4 of these are going to get a roll at it, right? Hell, you can even do another one. Whatever's sitting in this sea zone here, you can also roll through there. So now you got 5, right? Not a horrible option. If you have something that sat there and did nothing, you might as well put it to use. There's no point having a navy that's just sitting there like a pump. All right. The other thing about convoy lines, the U.S. has got this $3 convoy line here. It goes from the Philippines all the way past Hawaii to San Francisco. We've got this line down here I've already described. It's worth $4. 2 to the British, or two to the Australians and 2 to the Dutch. You got this line over here. It's worth 3 to the Commonwealth, 1 to the French, and 2 to the Dutch as well. So don't forget to use some subs. Throw a couple subs in there, a sub or 2 in there. right? You can have this one hits that line, that one hits that line, right? Hammer this line right here. You got a sub sitting here doing nothing, right? Just moving on up. Subs don't really block movement, so move it up. Hit a convoy, right? Don't forget, you can convoy these lines all day long. Once you max them out, though, you're done for the turn, but you know what? So be it. All right, so that's one quick option there with these convoy lines. Don't forget to escort your own and attack the enemies. All right, so I'm going to get this stuff out of the way here. That's one aspect to this. Another aspect of this is the build chart. This naval build chart is, or naval facility build chart, right? This is how it starts on the start of the game. If you combine the Atlantic and Pacific of the US, Japan needs to build one extra carrier and one extra battleship just to tie what's already on here and what's already in the ocean, right? Well, what do you think the US is going to do if you do that? And then say maybe add another one. Or add another one. And then you start moving them up. And then you start moving them up to here. They're not placed. You're not ready to place them yet, but you're putting them here. The US is going to start thinking, well, you know what? There's a victory condition where you get more capital ships. So the US is going to start putting some ships down there probably. If not, great for you. If they are, so be it. You don't only have to do capital ships. You can start a bunch, say, start an extra cruiser, start another cruiser, move a couple cruisers up, right? You can get all gung-ho. Now, sometimes if you start seeing a pile like this, that's a pretty good indication that somebody's going to go hog wild with their Navy. They anticipate they might lose the whole thing. And they want to be able to just go, okay, on my build of this turn, I'm just going to move all this down here and place it today. Right? So, keep an eye on that. That does happen occasionally. It's not just the Japanese. It could be anybody. The US could be doing that. The French even. I've seen that. Right? You never know. So, and the reason for these ships is they're all slow builders. And they can just sit here for the rest of the game and never be needed again. Just don't spend all your money on Navy. You don't make a lot of money to start as Japan. You need to start taking some land territories and increase your income. Because the US, when they get their bonuses, are going to be at 75 if they're at full wartime income. And you start at 16. So you're going to need to be able to increase your income to compete with that in later times. All right, so that's one example of some craziness that can happen, right? Sometimes it happens where you start getting giant piles of Navy all over the place. That's a pretty good indication that we're going to have a big Navy battle right away here. So keep an eye on the build chart. If there's somebody starts stacking stuff up here, like maybe you just haven't, Japan isn't, but if you start noticing that the US is doing all this, right? The US has got a bunch of capital ships just sitting there all chilling out together. That's a pretty good sign that they're going to do something on either side of the map, anticipate losing all their capital ships, and they have ready replacements, right? Keep an eye on that. Okay, that's enough about the build chart, but yeah, every time, like I was saying, you build a couple Japanese things, the US are probably going to throw a couple things on there. If you can bait the British into throwing a couple capital ships on there too, that's pretty cool. Every dollar they spend in the Navy is dollar they're not spending on land units to take back Europe. All right. So that's that craziness. Now, Navy. Navy's important. And let's go into a couple of things here on the map itself. Now, using your surprise strike as Japan, you can either move this carrier or a battleship up here, right? Oh, I just knocked that camera down so you can't really see. Whoa, what am I doing with this? There we go. Starting to play with my tripod too much here. Anyway, should use the surprise strike. The Navy here, these units can only go 2. Maybe you want to bring a transport in here. Just remember, it's either land or sea. It's only one land zone or sea zone. It's the first one you hit as the surprise, right? The strike in Pearl Harbor is basically what it's mimicking. But you can also make this strike from here. These are 2 plus a base for 3 plus the surprise strike extra move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 4. Right? You can hit any of this, or you can hit that from here. Great way to bring in the Navy. Now there's another option you have for that move, and you do not need the extra move location. From the Marshall Islands, you can move 1, 2, 3, right? But from the Caroline Islands, you can move 1, 2, 3, 4. Same as up there from the Carolines. Now, the reason I like the Carolines a little bit more, that one kind of projects that you have a plan to do stuff up there, and it moves the Navy up, and it opens the bottom of the map. So, you know, that's not a horrible idea, but if those same ships were here, they could do the same thing to there as from there, right? Or 1, 2, 3, 4. They can come down here. Right? Not a horrible thought. Options, right? From here or here. So, alright, and the same thing, you can use that double move with an amphibious assault. So say, for example, instead of doing what I just showed you, you say move your 3 destroyers, 3 transports with your 3 tanks and your 3 destroyers along. You just have these guys parked over there. Where did I put that destroyer? I had one on escort duty. I was moving around. There we go. No, there we go. 3 and 3. Okay. So these, same thing applies. They can move 4. So they can move 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 4. Right? You're getting what I'm saying here. So if you wanted to do an amphibious assault and attack the land zone instead of a sea zone, and there's no Navy in any of these locations, you can use that bonus move to hit Hawaiian Islands. Anything on the coast, here, up in there, all from that location. Now the same thing applies down here. I'm just going to use this one transport to signify what I'm talking about here. So that one transport, let's move this over a little bit here, could go 1, 2, 3 regularly and attack this, right? Say this Navy's not here, maybe this guy's moved it up here as a blocker, or he's in the middle of transporting stuff to the Far East Command, right? You never know what he's doing. You could 1, 2, 3, 4 and amphibiously assault Sydney, right? Just remember, if you take out Sydney and New Zealand at the same time, both are eliminated, Australia surrenders. It's done. It gives up. It says, uncle, it's out of the game. All right? So that's not a horrible option either. You eliminate this tiny little thorn in the side that keeps just building dudes and building the stack. I'm not going to tell you what strategy is the best, because there's so many different options here. Depends on what the enemy's doing, especially if you're playing a 36 scenario. It might be 6 or 7 turns before you get to this point, and who knows what they could have built or what could have moved from way over there through the Med over to here even, or it could have come through the Panama Canal and come over here. You never know. Just prepared and react to the situation as it sits before you. So that's one option. Let's see. Same thing with the surprise strike from here. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And surprise strike Malay or Sumatra or Borneo or what, it's up to you, right? But if your fleet's here, you can go 1, 2, 3 with the transports without the surprise strike, right? But say they put a blocker, or they will block this one or something, right? 1, 2, 3, right? You got options. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can't see that. Or you can come into Australia, or who knows, right? That's your one move, one sea zone, one whatever. So prepare accordingly, move your stuff around, right? Anything that's used in that one attack, if it's a naval unit, will get an extra move. And it's got to be the first attack you roll. Thus the surprise, right? Mimicking what actually happened in Pearl Harbor. But you don't have to use it in Pearl Harbor. You can use it on the Pacific Northwest. You can use it on Australia. You can use it on India. You can use it on the French and whatever if it's still sitting there doing that. It's your choice. You do it when you want. Okay, so that's most of the Navy here. Yeah, some amphibious assault options. And yeah, like I said, if you're using those destroyers, that's a prime example right there. This little fleet here, 3 destroyers and 3... Where did my third transport go? Yeah, I was moving it around. And 3 transports. Without a Navy base, can move 3. With a Navy base, can move 4. If it is the first attack you do. So you have to have a clear shot at the land zone. So, for example, over here, these guys can reach here and land in British Columbia and Southeast Alaska. And, let's see, can they touch the Aleutian Islands as well? And they can land in Alaska itself. So, should this stuff all decide to come here, you could drop a tank, a tank, a tank, and a pile of dudes. That's a pain in the butt, right? And it all touches this sea zone. It doesn't matter, as long as it's all getting disembarked from the same sea zone. Anything that touches that sea zone can all be amphibiously assaulted in the same turn by the same transports. All right? So that's an example, right? The same thing comes into play on this side here. There's 3 sea zones that Japan will find very valuable when they're attacking. I'm moving my stuff around. When they're attacking China or anything along this coast. This sea zone right here, 54, borders Zhejiang, Henan, Nanking, Taiyuan, and Peking. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 locations can all be amphibiously assaulted, either delivered or picked up in the same turn. So if you move that entire fleet that you have here, let's just slap that together here. Entire fleet you would have had over here, and you just loaded these dudes up on it, right? So you got that whole fleet up here. Well, you could bring the cruiser in here, right? Bring all this fleet in and attack. Attack the land zones. Split your landings to where you think it's appropriate. Split your bombardments to match your landings. Bring in some crew. You know, you got the cruiser there. Bring in a cruiser. Either battleships are bombarding. These destroyers are loaded, so they can't bombard. But you could bring that destroyer that's maybe not loaded and bombard. Bring in your aircraft. Do everything. Just hit it, right? The more you take, the faster you take from China, the better off you are. But that's an example of using the Navy, right? You also have this land zone right here. Does not connect to Hong Kong, but it does connect to Guangxi and Zhejiang. This one land zones in both sea zones. So anything that came in here and delivered could be scooped from here and amphibiously dragged 1, 2, 3 to there. So keep an eye on that, right? It's just an example. But use your Navy, right? Use your Navy like it's a fist on the coast, right? Japan has very little land units, but it's got a lot of Navy, so put it to work, right? Don't neglect the Navy. Don't neglect the land. Japan's kind of like the U.S., only instead of east and west sides of the map, you're worried about wet and dry. You got to do them both. All right. That's about it, really, on the Navy. Just remember, you have that surprise attack. It is only one land or one sea zone. So whichever one is the first attack you are doing is the one that gets the bonus move. And yeah, just remember, that bonus move is pretty handy. You got this cruiser that starts out here. It could move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You just attack you attacked here. Stack up a bunch of destroyers and subs and whatnot, and there, and get her going. Just remember, light carriers will also get a move of 5, but the aircraft that would be flying on the carrier wouldn't reach. So if you're going to be doing that, you're going to have to move some aircraft. Instead of having it on this carrier, you might have to start it off on this air base, because the carrier can move 5, but this plane will get trapped. It's here sitting at 5 from the air base over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 4 from the sea zone. 1, 2, 3, 4, but it won't be able to reach there, so you can't bring it along. Now, put it here. 1, 2, 3. Hey, look at that. It can reach. Right? So you may have to do some shuffling. Right? You may have to stage up your attack. Right? You stick a whole pile of air power in here. And it's just kind of sitting around doing nothing. Well, you can either have the carriers here, but that kind of, right? Or you just leave the carrier here, you bring the light carriers in there, and you can attack that way. Right? You got some options. So, think about your options. Just remember, you don't have to, everything's not married. The carrier's not married to that one plane. Right? Okay, I think I pretty much covered the Navy aspect of this. There's a few, crazy things you can do as Japan. Just remember, that surprise strike, you have to initiate the war. If the U.S. declares war on you first, you don't get to surprise strike the U.S. If the British and the French co-declare war on you, which they can do, they negate the U.S.'s ability to get the 5D12 income increase, but they will negate your ability to surprise strike them anywhere here, or in France, or who knows, maybe you're doing some craziness. You do have the option to move your Navy out to there. Don't really recommend that too much unless you got some backup plan for that, or the U.S. is moving everything over to that side. But they can make it back through the Panama Canal, just don't forget that. And a little word of advice on that. I'm just going to move this build chart over a little bit. You'll see on the side of the map here, you have below words in white, 2 Season 103, 103, 103, 106, 106, 111. All right, well, let's go to this side here. This is 103, 2 C-Zone, 70, 97, 102. This is 106 to 131 and 139. So Panama Canal, right? 1, 2, 2, or 2, right? Any one of these three can be reached from the C-Zone that's on this specific side of Panama Canal in one move, right? These 1s and 2, this 1 and 3, using the other side. So keep that in mind. Yeah, that's about it for the Japanese naval power and naval options. Like I said, 100%. Remember that these light carriers can't be placed or moved or anything till you're at war with the U.S. But the same turn you're at war with the U.S., you can place that carrier right there, that light one. You start off with these. You're at a disadvantage by, there's one carrier already on the map and one battleship already on the map. The U.S. has more, so if you start that, you're now tied, capital ship wise. You know, so remember, if you're going to throw a navy away, have a backup on the works. Maybe not that extreme, but you know, think about it. Otherwise, you're just going to have a navy of subs and destroyers and transports. It's not bad, but you know, doesn't have a lot of hitters. Can't bring any planes. Okay, so that's this really. This is kind of dragging on a little longer than I planned, but naval battles, naval use, naval transports, naval destroyers as transports. Don't forget the escort lines. Don't forget to convoy the lines. Pay attention to what the enemy is doing. It's kind of difficult to get back and forth. There's two highways across the ocean, across the top here, through the middle. And this is actually a bit long, but there's this fantastic highway where should the U.S. or the Commonwealth or the Allies take this place away from you, the Marshall Islands, they can just move up and down from here to here one turn, here to here one turn. So this is like a hub. If they have this, they can move from the Pacific Northwest to there. They can move from Sydney to there, or this entire fleet can go 1, 2, and from there it can start being disruptive. So keep an eye on that. And from here, they can reach the Philippines back and forth, right? So don't, if you're the Japanese, and you're giving up these two places, realize that the Allies now have access to the entire Japanese Pacific Island chain, right? You've opened yourself up, so try to keep this door closed. Or if you can, you know, give them a reason to a counterattack if they do move out of there, where you can hit them back either from here or something, right? Keep an eye on this. This is the corridor through the center. That's the corridor through the top, and this is also the corridor north and south, connecting Australia and the US. So keep an eye on these ones. If they start building up here, this is a corridor that connects the two together, which can cause you some grief. Rapid movement of fleet from here to here in 2 turns. Right, that's a long distance. And from here, they can start becoming problematic down here. Or they can suddenly launch up to here and come in the center. So keep an eye on those. All right, that's probably way more than I needed to say. Not trying to talk to you guys like you're all unknowing of everything, but trying to make sure I cover everything. That way, if it's something new or a different way of looking at it, this game is not the same as Axis and Allies. Just keep that in mind, right? And it's got its own rules. It's got a lot more movement ability and a lot more spaces to move in, both wet and dry spaces. So keep an eye on that, and I will do another video here on some land attacks here. But yeah, the Navy, keep it alive, keep it moving. Do not get blockaded, whatever you do. Okay, and I'll leave you there. Thank you, and have yourselves a great one. Bye.